A wild card berth to the playoffs. The Philadelphia Eagles are on the rise in 2022 in the NFC East. I'm Jake. This is Drew with Sports Around the Bar, and today we are talking and grading the Philadelphia Eagles offseason going into next season.
Eagle fans, I think you're going to love this episode. We talked very highly about their offseason moves. Hey, man, let's get right into it in their free agency. I love the fact that they moved draft picks out to Tennessee to grab a wide receiver like A.J. Brown and also pick up a receiver during the free agency in Zach Pascal. Talk about putting weapons around your quarterback. Really what it comes down to is how well Hurts plays, right? I mean, they are putting every weapon, every possible thing onto this team to make this a successful team.
The offensive line is solid. They have a great running back as well, or at least a great running game, even if the running back doesn't have the premier name that you want to see, or they don't have a Derrick Henry, they don't have a Dalvin Cook, but what they do have is an offensive line that it doesn't matter who's running the ball, they're going to be successful.
A community of running backs that can make it happen.
One thing I think they've done so well this offseason is, like you said, they have put every weapon around Jalen Hurts, so now all the onus is, if he's going to be our guy going forward, here's how we succeed. Bring in A.J. Brown, bring in Zach Pascal to match up with Devontae Smith. They still have Jalen Reagor that I don't think it's quite time to give up on him yet.
Nope.
They still have Arcega-Whiteside, my favorite receiver from a couple of years ago.
Now a tight end.
That they're kicking to tight end. They have Dallas Goedert. They have the offensive line. They have the running game. The excuses are gone here, right? This offseason was about removing any and all doubt, and we're going to actually see what Jalen Hurts can do in year 3 because of some of these moves. Now, a couple more that I want to talk about. If we kick it over to the defensive side of the ball here, too. Bring in a guy that's as athletic, edge rushing the passer as Hassan Reddick. They bring in James Bradbury to shore up that secondary because, let's face it, Philly fans, you know you've needed that second corner next to Darius Slay. If you watched them last year, that's James Bradbury in a nutshell.
I love this move in Bradbury. Steven Nelson, to me, is just your average, middle-of-the-line kind of cornerback in the NFL.
Average, below average, slightly below average, wherever you want to call him.
He's going to be there. He's going to give up every pass play, but then he's going to tackle.
But he'll make the tackle.
And that's it. Bradbury is one of those playmakers out there that can be just as good as Darius Slay at Bradbury's height. You got literally 2 number 1 corners in any other team in the NFL, but you got him as your number 1, number 2. I like this. I like this move a lot.
And when you talk about the departures, I don't think any of these guys are major names. Alex Singleton, in that linebacking core, I think they've done a better job replacing him. We'll talk about that when we talk about the draft here. I think the only guy that I really think I see as somebody you might miss next season is Rodney McLeod.
Yeah.
Solid safety in the backfield. But, again, losing a safety probably doesn't sink a team.
You know, when you bring in so many great players, this is the NFL, and this is the reason why they have a cap, and you have to be able to let some of your good players go, and McLeod was just one of those people.
And Philadelphia has had a solid roster. I think that's why you're not seeing very many moves here. They have a ton of veteran presence on this team. I think that's why you look at some of these other teams in divisions, you know, making a ton of moves. Not pointing any fingers, but the Giants, you know, I couldn't even fit it on one slide. They haven't had to make those moves because the team is so strong. They've only sort of brought in a couple of really high-end pieces like A.J. Brown, like Hassan Reddick, and they're saying, let's take the swing at winning this division.
Yeah, man, let's jump right into the draft, man, because their number 1 pick was literally everyone's freak of physique of
Nobody
the draft.
knew where to put this guy, except for, like, the Chargers. I saw so many people saying Jordan Davis, D-tackle out of Georgia, was on his way to, not San Diego, L.A., to play for the Chargers.
You'll never let that one go.
The Eagles didn't give him the chance. At 13, they said, we're getting this physical freak.
Just real quickly, I want you to know the Eagles will probably never leave Philadelphia. I put all my children on the fact that Philadelphia will never let the Eagles go. So you never have to relearn that name.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank the NFL for that. But let's talk about Jordan Davis here.
Thank Philly fans for that.
How do we feel about Jordan Davis as a pick? 13 for defensive tackle. Usually you want to get a pretty special guy, and he looks like he has those special traits about him to say that he could be a generational talent at the position. Everyone always wants to compare everybody to Aaron Donald, D-tackle, but I don't think he really fits that game. You're getting one of the, if not the best, run stuffer to come out of college football with Jordan Davis here. Exactly. You're getting that talented of a guy who's an even better athlete is the scary part when you talk about Jordan Davis and what he did at Georgia.
And bigger.
I know, it's an absolute freak of nature. Now, it doesn't come without some negatives, Drew, because you look at the snap count at Georgia, it wasn't very high, but there's some excuses built in there. Where they were so talented on the defensive line, you had to get some other guys out there.
Yeah.
The big concern for me, when you get to the national championship, Alabama was running a ton of hurry-up to keep him on the field because they wanted to face him in pass sets. The question is going to be, how do the Eagles sort of plan around that when he gets to the NFL? Because coordinators look at that kind of stuff, and they're going to say, maybe I want to attack that sort of position when you're talking about Philadelphia on the defensive side of the football.
Well, luckily they still have a veteran in Cox that's going to be able to play a lot of those stats. Plays. So Davis does have a chance to get his body ready for the NFL. But they didn't leave Georgia players alone because they also in the round 3 they picked up a player that you really like coming out of Georgia as well.
This is the first-round linebacker, and they got him in the 3rd, Drew. How can I not say this is one of the steals of the draft? Because Nakobe Dean, I don't care that he's short. I don't care that he's light. Look at the leadership this guy brings in here. You talk about field generals on the defensive side of the ball. He is that old-school linebacker that gets everybody in the right spot and just directs the defense. So not only are you getting an immensely physically talented guy that is a sideline-to-sideline athlete, I don't care that he's 5'11". I don't care that he's 225 pounds. There's guys in the league that have those stats and are still successful. I don't care about any of the physical stuff. The fact that you grabbed him at pick 83, that's highway robbery, man. That, to me, I can't believe it happened. I really think this is one of the picks of the NFL draft in 2022 that you can say they hit a home run with it.
I also don't want to ignore their 2nd-round pick in Cam Jorgens coming out of Nebraska, a center. I get it. You guys still have Kelsey there. This is probably your last year with him. I think he signed a 1-year contract. He's probably done after this. Even if Cam wasn't going to be your next guy at center, it's kind of nice to get him in this year with Kelsey to learn how Kelsey has literally been a staple in the middle of that deep offensive line that hasn't moved. I mean, talk about a Hall of Famer in Kelsey, in my opinion. Cam has an opportunity to learn. I know you're not high on him in the draft and where he was taken, but
it's not that I don't like him as a player. I think 51 is a little high.
But that 1 year with Kelsey makes a world of a difference.
And why not take a look? That would be the only negative I can actually point to in this draft at all. This is probably about 10 to 15 spots higher than I would want to see Cam Jorgens come off the board. But if he's your guy, you like what he brings to the table, you like if he fits the skill set that you're trying to fill in the offensive line, because it's a lot of things people forget. It's not pound for pound. You have a scheme that you run on the offensive line, a certain type of blocking, a certain type of body type, a certain type of attitude you're looking for. If he fits all those boxes, fine. I'll throw my hands up and say I'll forgive a 2nd-round pick that maybe wasn't my favorite. When you talk about getting Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round and then a physical freak like Jordan Davis, take heart, Philly fans, because this was the draft. I think this is going to be one of those drafts that you look back and say, we got 2 defensive stars and potentially a long-term starter at center.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying, so 2022, we want to see growth from Hurts. I think they bought everything they possibly could the offensive side of the ball to allow him to grow. The defense seems like they brought in players to replace players gone. I mean,
get better with James Bradbury coming in to play that 2nd cornerback spot. Like, the team is better.
I'm going to jump into it, man. My grade for them, whole offseason, an A+. I think that they've done everything they could to make this young quarterback and this team a push to the division winner and a push deep in the playoffs.
Being Mr. Negative, Drew, I got to go with an A. I'm going to go 1 spot below you. Still very, very high on everything they've done. But like you said, they've brought in not just good players. They brought in potential star players in Hassan Reddick and A.J. Brown to fit in this offense. They've brought in potential stars in the draft as well. Now, not every guy works out, but these are the risks that if you take – you're going to hit on some of them, and then good things are going to happen for your franchise. I'm going to go with an A. The only thing I'm going to say is it wasn't a perfect offseason because they only had a couple spots I feel like that they absolutely just knocked out of the park. If they had a couple more of these moves that I felt like were stronger through the middle, I'd say A+ with you, but we're very close in the same wavelength here.
We are.
In 2022, what do the Eagles have to look forward to, Drew? What is your prediction for them going forward here?
I mean, I've already said it. It's another playoff berth, and it's a division winner. It's got to be. Anything short, I think, is a failure, but I don't think it's going to happen.
With this roster starting to get older, I think I'm 100% with you. This is the time that you need to capitalize on, especially with all the talent moving out of the NFC. This is where you need to capitalize. Whether you win the division or whether you just make a strong playoff appearance, get to the show and really start to make the push from there is what I want to see out of the Eagles in 2022. I think it can happen. I think this is a team that is going to be dangerous, and I know it's a bit of a cliche, but this is the team you don't want to play when you get to the playoffs, and whether they're the wild card or the division round winner, this is one of the teams that you're going to say they have a chance to beat us if everything works out for them in 2022.
I agree.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button below and ring the bell to stay up to date with all of our NFL videos as well as everything else we're talking about in sports.
We have a great community on Facebook already, but we're trying to grow our community on YouTube because we believe you guys can talk sports just as well as anybody else, and we can't wait to have those conversations with you.
So grab a drink, hit subscribe, Come talk sports with us.